Hi guys, this is Chip from Mr. Angels. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm getting better now. I've cracked the fever, so I've just given you an update before we do a live. So here we go. Are you ready? Okay. Alexa, what is blue-green algae?
According to Wikipedia, cyanobacteria, also known as cyanophyta, are a phylum of gram-negative bacteria that obtain energy via photosynthesis. The name cyanobacteria refers to their color, giving them their other name, blue-green algae, though modern botanists restrict the term algae to eukaryotes and do not apply it to cyanobacteria, which are prokaryotes.
Alexa, are blue-green algae poisonous to humans?
Here's something I found on the web. According to psa.org.uk, blue-green algae can be very dangerous because it produces invisible toxins that can cause organ damage and sometimes even death.
Alexa, where would you find blue-green algae?
Here's something I found on the web. According to kstate.edu, blue-green algae, also known as cyanobacteria, grow in bodies of water, such as lakes and ponds, and other wet places, such as moist soil or rocks. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. Okay.
Thanks for your feedback.
So here's my point to you guys. We know for a so-called fact that the last photograph and video taken was Summer with purple fingertips, swollen body, bright red makeup lips, right? So, number one, there is proof that Summer within the hour could have died not by secondary drowning, but actually poisoning from blue-green algae from the actual pond. Number two, so if that's the case, did Summer pass away on the way home? Was Hunter right all along and that our Summer was fine? Then she started shivering and feeling cold, started to cold sweat, which is one of the signs of algae poisoning. Now, there's warnings all over the UK where we don't swim in bodies of water, in canals, stuff like that, for one reason, because blue-green algae is non-curable. By the time you've figured out you're sick, by the time you show any symptoms, it's too late. So what if she said she was thirsty? They stopped off at Sonic to get drinks, ice cold drinks. On top of that, she was freezing on a hot day, but she wasn't freezing at 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. when it wasn't as warm as midday. It's only 77, check the weather yourself. So, what if she was displaying them signs of algae poisoning? And what if she got so sick that Candice and Don phoned each other? Maybe Candice phoned Don, maybe Don phoned Candice to see where they were. And she said, Summer's not looking too good. She's shaking, she's shivering, everything like that. And what if Don said, meet me so I can see her? Because without him, no one can make a move in that family. And maybe Grandis got upset and thought we better rush her back down to the hospital. This is only a maybe. This is the facts. Fact is, there is blue-green algae in bodies of water and you can't see it. There is bacteria in the water that you can't see that's deadly. However, our little Summer hardly ate. She was very thin. She was unkept, unwell, very weak immunity. Never if she had strong immunity, it doesn't matter, it's a poison. So when he said Hunter, she went down and I just tapped her on the back and she brought it up. Maybe he did get rid of that. Maybe Grandis is first aider. Well, let's just say this. What if she swallowed algae and it was in her bloodstream? And what if in the hour she was dying in front of all their eyes? And because Hunter only being a baby, remember, he's only a child, sits in the back and says that summer was cold. So Candice turned around and said, well, that's just summer. That's the way summer is. What if this time this wasn't summer? What if this time Summer was actually turning around, guys, telling her mum and Hunter and every person in there, I'm cold. Not because of the sonic, but because the algae was killing her body. It was running through her heart, liver, kidneys. Now, if you look closely, Summer's hands are swollen. Her face is swollen. Everyone knows kidney failure, liver failure makes you that yellowy colour, makes you swell. The purple on the edge of the fingertips, it's not even on the ends of the tips. They're actually in the corners where doctors and nurses who have seen this and analysed this says that your heart can beat, then stop, then start, then stop before you die. At least 12, 13 times. So that's why Summer looked the way she did. And Summer got poisoned so much, said she was cold so much, that they thought she was just thirsty. Maybe she lost lots of energy, didn't have no food. So maybe, she's in hypershock when your blood sugar's low. So Grandis, they had all that food there, said, take out some food. Summer, being a 5-year-old child, probably picked the orange aid and also some sweets. Now, whether them sweets were sweets or they were not sweets and something else, we know that Candice loves Skittles. We know that Candice loves the flavour of Skittles for edibles. So what if Candice and Grandis actually stopped and felt Summer and she was burning up? So they ran into the store because they shop very clearly. And I've got a video coming out in food banks. And the night before Summer went swimming, that night they went to the food bank. And it wasn't just her, it was Don, Candice, the boys, and Summer. She had no socks and shoes on, running around. They all saw her. So what if they used them bottles to cool her down because a nurse advised them? So let's have a look at these evidence and facts. Is Candice and Don in knowledge of a nurse? Yes. Who is this nurse? Ali's friend. She said very clearly to CM that she was a nurse. So what if they phoned Hunter and said, got Hunter to phone his mum and ask, Mum is, I'm forgetting her name now, Lisa or something there. No, but I can call her. Why? Summer is shaking, but she's burning up to touch. No, don't put more clothes on her and keep her warm. Keep her cool. So Grandis has run to the store with Candice, picked up the ice cold milk, laid Summer on it because she was unconscious. They could no longer wake her up. Then they phoned Don. Now, Candice probably spoke to Don outside the car, while Grandis and Hunter put Summer And this is why I think Summer and Hunter, Summer's gone and Hunter's gone mentally. Because I think he really believed he was helping Summer. After all, he called for a nurse. Don turned round and said, well, if she said, it's okay, it's okay. I'm just giving you, with the evidence, another story. That's all this is. Another story. A could-be mystery. Before you all have a go. So let's look at this mystery carefully and evidence as well. And let's see if this story fits. So the nurse says, no, in fact, if she's got a fever, you should be cooling her down. Try and give her a drink. The only drinks they had was the milk in the cartons, but that was cooling her down. She was unconscious. Maybe the nurse said she's in hypershock. She's not eaten all day since last night. Maybe she overswam and caused her blood sugar to drop or her blood pressure. And all that stains was actually the orange drink they were trying to force down her body, but she was already unconscious and couldn't swallow, and it just spilt out. So they phoned back. I've got her under cold water. Okay, take her to hospital. Maybe that's what that nurse said. Take her to hospital. A good nurse would say that, right? And what if Alison turned around and said, she said you've got to take her to hospital? So then Grandis was driving and decided to take her to the hospital. But Don decides differently. He wants to see her first. Now in this time, the time's ticking. Tick, 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 tick. Our poor Summer has gone from shivering, high temperatures, to them putting on cold, opening the windows. Will drop H off. Why? Because maybe H would overpower him and take Summer himself to the hospital, so they couldn't have H in the way because of what they were about to do. So they dropped H off. That's why Candice turns around and says, you can't come, boy. You're going straight home. You're not coming to mine. Maybe he says, I want to stay with Summer while she's poorly. Who knows? Only they know. But with the evidence, I'm going to do you a little story. And this little story that you're going to hear is going to be with the facts we've got. Fact and story number 1. Allegedly, that was the last photograph and video before Summer disappeared. Allegedly. Allegedly, it was an accidental photograph in the car. And the video was accidental. Allegedly, Summer was shaking. Cold. And that's why they put it on. So now here comes the facts. No allegedly, facts. Fact is, Summer was the only one with spare clothes. Although they were going fishing and then going swimming. Fact. Fact. Hunter took off his shirt, done gang signs, and jumped into the water with Summer. Fact. Fact. Summer absorbed more of that water than Hunter did. Fact. Fact. Summer had her head for a couple of seconds, if not more, under that water. Fact. Fact. There's a picture and video of Summer lying on ice cold milk. Fact. Fact that Summer had changed from shorts t-shirt to some kind of all-in-one dress that they acted like it was swimming, which makes me believe, considering every picture I've seen Summer in with water has a two-piece suit on, that me personally think that shouldn't be for up to about a 12-year-old. But anyway, I digress. So from there, and this fact, our Summer was unconscious, sleep or otherwise. Fact that Ali knows a nurse. Fact. Now the nurse says she can't stand Candice, loves children, would kill for her children and anyone else's. Fact. Fact that Grandma was coming to visit Ali. Fact. Guys, these are all facts, okay? So let's look at two possibilities of what happened. Comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to please like, share, subscribe, and let's see if we can get the likes to support this channel so we can get it as high as we can. Are you ready? Okay. Let's go for story number one. Now, what you're seeing in this picture is going to be explained in story number two. Story number one is plain and simple. You've heard about the algae, the poisoning. Now, it takes an hour to 2 hours from a child under the age of 9 to pass away from this algae poisoning. So let me give you a little story. Are you sitting back comfortably? So it started out an ordinary day. The boys weren't feeling too good, weren't bothered. It was a summer holiday. They weren't bothered about going anywhere, shopping, taking Grandis to the hospital, sitting in a hot car. Especially it wasn't the Subaru. It was an old car. Summer had no choice, however. There's no way the boys could look after a 5-year-old. Now, Summer's mother says, oh, sometimes she can sleep into 12 o'clock if I let her. So she woke her up. So Summer was already groggy, grumpy, and had no breakfast. And in the car. And gone by, say, 7:30 to 8 o'clock. From there, Summer was taken down to H's. Now, how that happened, we don't know, but it's facts. You want facts, you'll get them facts. When whoever asked, they turned up between 10 and 10:30. Fact. So from there, according to Summer's pictures and videos, Alison was supposed to be asleep in the house. But there's something not right here. Because in Alison's interview with CM, which if you go back to my video, you will see, she clearly states that Candice asked her, is it okay to take Hunter fishing? Listen carefully. So she says yes, but not for long. Hunter got excited. Now we know that on the 4th, there was fact texting going on between Hunter and Candice. Now that just proves one thing. That there's no way Candice and Hunter weren't talking and meeting up. However, I think the only one who didn't know they were doing that was Don. Don was oblivious to what was going on because Don went to work, stayed away from responsibility in his home, and then went home as late as he could, picking up food on the way, getting drunk with Candice, drugged up, fall asleep, and do it all again the next day. And ho hell, if he's happy doing that, that's his problem. No one else is. So, what if Candice and Don were having a big argument? And Hunter thought, I'll get involved in this. Or Grandis told him, just go play with Summer down at the bottom. Grandis was in the car, getting everything ready. Summer was perfectly healthy, had short t-shirt on that looked like a long dress, or whatever it was she was wearing was definitely not a swimsuit that she would wear. Go back and look at the videos, and every single picture that Summer has when she goes swimming or it's planned, always wear a two-piece. This time she didn't. It looked like the same clothes that Candice described her going to Hunters for. So let's stick to the fact here. She did go swimming. On that day or not, we don't know. But she did go swimming. Now, you've just heard about the algae. So let's go down that story route of the algae, shall we? Okay. So the algae itself, the only person in that swimming area that day for a length amount of time was Summer. Is H a nurse or doctor? No. Do they have any medical training? Does H have any medical training? We can assume very clearly no. Does Grandis and Candice have medical training? From my point of view, it doesn't look like it, but maybe. But judging by their procedures, what happened next, I don't think they did. So Summer got out. No towel to dry. Grandis did not want her in that place. Maybe she was coughing and spluttering because she went under, swallowed some water, and the algae started attacking her body straight away, which it does. Then she got stomach cramps. Now, when you have stomach cramp, the first thing everyone tells you to do is drink something gassy to help release the gas. But I don't think it happened that way. So here's my theory, number one theory. Candice and Don were talking. Grandis had put Summer in her school uniform because that's the only thing she had was warm enough for Summer. Stripped her down. Put clothes on her. The only warm clothes they had. Why they had it, nobody knows. Maybe they brought it and because they're lazy, they left it in the car. Could be. There's a possibility, 90% possibility. But let's say that next minute, Grandis noticed that Summer is hot to touch and clammy. But Summer turns around and goes, Mummy, I don't feel too good. I've got bellyache. I feel thirsty. Now, thirsty is one of the big signs of algae poisoning. So they went ahead and got her a Sonic. No, that's right, because the Sonic was before the swim hole. But that's not what's important. That's by the way. So now twice, she's not only cold, but she's thirsty. Who do they phone? Who possibly would know what to do if a child was sick? Let's say a nurse. Is Candice a nurse? No. Is Hunter a nurse or doctor? No. How about Grandis? Not sure. Maybe. Older people know a lot more than younger, right? But an actual nurse who would know what was going on if you told them the symptoms, without having to go to a doctor, would be Alison's friend. So what if Hunter saw Grandis, Candice and Don fighting on the phone, and he thought to phone his mum, and his mum thought to phone the nurse? She's sweating, she's shivering, but she says she's cold, but she's burning up. It sounds like gastroenteritis or something like that, because don't forget, maybe they didn't tell her she was just swimming in algae. Okay? You need to cool her down. But Summer wasn't having it, because every time they tried to take her top off to cool her down, she was screaming, which babies do. If you look at babies, they're always cold, and even if they're burning temperature, and they try and strip the baby down as quick as possible, but a baby doesn't like that. So they try and tuck in as close to someone warm as possible, which would be Hunter. So they zipped her up to the top with warm clothes. But they still had to find a way to cool her down. Now, the bottles of milk, that would have been a perfect size until they could get her home to keep her body cool. By this time, it was going on a bit. She was in dead heat. She couldn't have the windows open because, according to Candice, she complained to the windows. This time, it's gone between 45 minutes to an hour. She is now unconscious. Hunter panics. Phones his mum back. You've got to take her to hospital, according to her friend nurse. Now, take her to hospital now. Granny's phone's down to say we're on the way to hospital with Summer. No. Why? They've already stopped her going to nursery. Now remember, that's free. In their area, I've checked. Why didn't she go to preschool? It was free. Because she would have had to have a medical and a check. So if Summer went to hospital with a fever, not only would they give her blood tests, and maybe, just maybe, she had something in the system she wasn't supposed to have from the night before. They would also find maybe bruising. And that's why they put the long sleeves and trousers on, in case they did have to take her to hospital. They didn't want people to see. The best thing to hide bruising is under clothes. Listen to Concrete Angel, the song. So, Candice is on the way. Don says, no, bring it to me. That's why Candice said to Hunter, no, you're going straight home, because Hunter probably said, I want to stay with her. No, we'll drop you off and then go to the hospital. That'll explain why Candice pulled up the car to go that way. She was facing to go to the hospital. But what if she didn't go home, guys? What if she told Alison and Hunter we're taking her to the hospital? And Alison said, can I hold her? They went, no, we've got to go. We've got to go to the hospital now. Because Alison's friends told her that. So she went, go. What if Hunter was so panicking and scared that he called his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's mum and him went over to the park to take his mind off it? Alison and her friend were there that day together, that night. Why? Could it be because it started up a conversation? In the meantime, instead of Candice and Grandis taking Summer to the hospital, they met with Don. Now, would Don go alone and make a decision alone? No. He's away from responsibility all the time. He doesn't take responsibility on at all. So he ain't going to take the responsibility on his own. So who does he call? A trusted friend. But who? Well, he had Dodson. He had the bishop from the church. And he had Robin that they thought they could trust. Calls them up. By the time Candice and Grandis takes Summer to Don to meet him, halfway, because he didn't want him at the works because there might be cameras there, when they met each other, it was too late. It had been an hour and a half. Summer had passed. So now there's panic setting. So whoever they met with Don says, you're going to have to prove she was alive after the swim hole. If that was the last photograph of her being alive, then they're going to say she never made it home. And that's where Don and Candice got Summer out the car. Grandis was very quiet and distraught because she loved Summer. Remember, she was going to adopt her. Because she'd passed away, she gave her to the church. Now we need to find out which person went with Don. This is just my scenario with what the evidence has been given that I've seen. It's coming from my autistic head and my autistic head only. This is just allegedly. But does this make sense? Does this fit the evidence? And that's what we've got to discuss on the live. So, don't worry, we'll sort it. David Dodson is an actual crematorium guy and deals with morgues and people in the morgues. So now it's 1, damage control. 2, Candice could not or Don have taken Summer to that hospital because although the green and algae would have been her death, 1 at the time they didn't know about green algae and that because they weren't knowledgeable of that. Number 2, Candice, Don and Grandis was in distraught. They needed somebody there that was calm, collected, and could step away from the emotions to deal with what's going on. So this is how I think this all played out. This is my first one. So then, David Dodson, being what he is, went to his house and Candice followed. The only person that was there, Robin, maybe Robin had lipstick in her car and stuff. She is very girly stuff. And put some on her face. Laid her down perfectly to look like she's asleep. Move her arms in different positions to take a photograph first. And then moved her hands again into a different position to take the video. In the meantime, Don dropped Grandis or David Dodson or someone dropped Grandis back home with the boys. Then they took the photographs and the video and said, word for word, what Candice was going to say. And they almost got away with it, except for 3 things. If Hunter was in the car the time they were trying to give Summer a drink, they might have thought that Summer died from hypoglycemia exposure, meaning she burnt too much sugar and went into a coma and died. So they had to stage it to look like she had access to a drink and sugary sweets at every time by that picture. So once someone says, hang on a minute, she don't look alive in that picture. Or look at her pigment of her skin, she looks like she's in a hyperglycemic coma. They can then say, nah, why would she be? She's got a sugary drink there and sweet. So in our brains, we wouldn't go down that route. But we're smarter than that because we go back from the waterfall, and the fact is she was fine to the time she went into that water. After that is when everything went wrong. The only poison that is deadly in that water is blue-green algae. It kills a child within 1 hour of digestion. Slowly, quietly, fever, thirst, and then sleep eternally. So now everyone's freaking out and stuff like that. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? The church takes over. But I don't mean the whole church. I mean certain people in that church. Because Don and Candice did not do this alone. Now we've got to find out, why would anybody help Don and Candice? Simple. That land is very, very good for the church. Now they're in a Baptist area. So the Seventh-day Adventists would benefit from that land that Don and Candice has. They also have houses, this church, in different areas they can put Don and Candice in. So what if they approached Don and Candice and said, don't worry, you give us the land, we'll give you a small property somewhere outside where no one will know. It'll quiet down. Before you know it, you'll move. Everything will be fine. You'll get a new job, go to one of our cities, go look, Seventh-day Adventist Church, on how many areas that church is in. And then go look how many Baptist churches are in Don Wells's area. Anyway, what if that's why it took so long for them to phone? They had to get the story straight. They were told what to say, when to say it. And they're going to say, no matter what happens, no matter what you do, you need to keep to the story, all of yous. But you see, Grandis didn't agree. She already lost a daughter. She just lost Summer. Grandis didn't agree with this. I get you don't agree with it, Grandis, but the best thing for you to do is shut your mouth. Pathetic. Because she didn't want to lose another daughter. She's lost one daughter. Well, actually, she's lost her 2 daughters, her son, and now she's about to lose the only daughter that talks to her. And she has loyalty, Grandis. Out of all her children, Candice was the only one that gave her a home, gave her a place to stay.